Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Sonia and I'm very glad you're here. Over the past holiday season, I did a video on creating an afternoon tea gift basket. I'll put a link to it if you didn't see it because frankly, a gift basket of tea things is appropriate any time of the year, not just Christmas. But in that video, I suggested including a box of greens scone mix in the basket. Now, I don't think greens is all that common here in the States. I only know of a couple of places locally to carry it, but it is a well-established company in the UK. It's been around more than 100 years when Mr. Horace Green decided to provide customers in his bakery with quick and easy mixes to whip up on their own. Now, there aren't a lot of companies that offer scone mixes here, and I have never made green scone mix. I usually bake scones from scratch because, well, they're just so easy. But it's nice to keep a mix in your pantry just in case you need it. So I thought it would be fun if we made these together to see how they turn out. And I hope that's good. If any of you have made green scones, let me know in the comments below how yours turned out and if it's something you don't mind relying on. Now, when I make a recipe or box mix the first time, I try to go by the instructions exactly. So if things don't turn out, I know it's not something I did. These instructions are very simple. It only calls for an egg and milk and a little dusting of flour. But there are some things to note if you're in the US and dealing with recipe directions from the UK. This mix calls for 1 medium-sized egg. But eggs in the UK are graded differently than those in the US. So if you see a UK recipe or baking mix that calls for a medium-sized egg like this does, that's equivalent to a large egg in the US. Now, thankfully, I only keep large eggs on hand, so I'm good there. Next, it calls for 70 milliliters of semi-skimmed milk. Now, semi-skimmed is like our 2%, and that's what I put in my tea, so we're good there. The 70 milliliters is about 2.5 ounces or 4.5 tablespoons, just under 1/3 of a cup. So now that everything is figured up and figured out, we're ready to begin. So first, preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, 220 degrees Celsius, or gas mark 7. Then it calls for lightly greasing a baking tray and setting it aside. Now we empty the scone mix into a large bowl. And mix the egg and milk together. Reserving 2 teaspoons for glazing. Then add the remaining liquid to the scone mix, and it says stir until mixed and a smooth dough is formed. Sure about this smooth dough. I'm not seeing anything smooth up. It's pretty dry. I'm wondering if I should add back those 2 teaspoons I took out. This goes against what I usually know to do with a scone from a recipe, and that is you don't want to overwork it too much. I think I'm going to add back in what I took out. It is forming a dough, but it feels dry. Okay. Not so sure about this. Wonder if I should add a little more moisture. I'll wait and see what happens. Now let's dust Afraid to have much flour. Okay. Now this is not a large mix. It only makes 6 scones of about 2.5 inches, 6 centimeters. Let's see. And it says to roll it out to about 3/4 of an inch, 2 centimeters, 3/4 of an inch thick. I'm guessing that's about right. Now it says using a 6 centimeter cutter, 2.5 inches, cut out 6 scones and place them on the baking tray. Looks pretty good. Hopefully we can get a 6th one from these scraps. Yeah. And even a little one, even a 7th one. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so now we'll place these on our baking tray. I'm not going to have them touching, but I'm going to have them close. Okay, and now that I got rid of my extra wash that I had, I'll just brush these with a little milk. Actually, I think I'll do a little half and half. Okay, now that these are prepared, we must leave them to rest and rise for 10 minutes at room temperature before putting them in the oven. All right, it's been 10 minutes. Now these go in the oven to bake for 10 or 12 minutes or until golden brown. Okay, well, not too bad. I went a full 12 minutes on them. I checked them at 10. They weren't really golden on top, but now they are, especially around the edges. And I think they look pretty good. They didn't rise too much, but a little bit more than when they first went in the oven. They look good. I didn't dare go longer than 12 minutes. I didn't want them to end up being little rocks, but since when they went in, they seemed a little on the dry side. But we'll see. So while our scones are cooling now, we'll be needing some tea anyway. So I wanted to address a common question I see come up often, and that is, how do you keep loose leaf tea from oversteeping and getting bitter in the teapot? Well, a sure way to keep that from happening is to steep the tea in one pot, and as soon as it's finished, decant it into another. The challenge is making sure the tea stays hot. I'm taking out the infuser in this clear teapot because even though infusers are convenient, they still keep the tea from expanding to its fullest and giving its best flavor. So first, we need hot water to warm the pot. We want to give this tea every advantage to stay hot. And while this first pot warms, I'm going to boil fresh water for the tea. And now that the pot is sufficiently warmed, I'm going to pour out that water, and now it's time to add the tea. I'm using Cornish loose leaf tea today, which I think is appropriate for our cream tea. And now goes in our freshly boiled water. The tea will steep for 4 minutes, and while it's steeping, I'm going to heat more water and pour it into my second pot, which will go on the table. Now this tea is fully steeped and ready for decanting. I'll pour the water out of the second pot, and using a strainer, I'm going to pour the steeped tea into it. No tea leaves to get bitter. Okay, our tea is ready. Our scones have cooled just a little bit. And the last instruction on the scone box says, serve with clotted cream and jam. Oh yeah. These are lovely, aren't they? They turned out really pretty in spite of the instruction that said roll the dough until it's smooth or mix the dough until it's smooth. I never had smooth dough, but this is fine. This is how I usually picture scones. So let's see how they did. And since I decanted the tea, we don't have to worry about a strainer. A little jam and a little clotted cream. Now here's the big test. How do they break open? Not bad, not bad. And they're very pretty. They're baked, they don't seem dry. And since we're having Cornish tea, I will prepare them the Cornish way. Jam first. Cream on top. These are actually very nice. They're crunchy on the outside. They're tender on the inside. It's got a nice crumb to it. It's got a nice flavor. I would serve these. Absolutely. And it's really nice to have something in a pinch on the shelf when you need it. Very nice scones from Green's Box Scone Mix. You might want to give these a try. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, give it a thumbs up, and consider subscribing for more afternoon tea videos. Until next time, bye-bye.